Pop culture pastor.
So Cody, I've been thinking about some swag for the watch along.
Okay.
What do you think about Anghkooies?
I don't know how I feel about that.
Some from swag? Come on, everybody's gonna want an Anghkooie.
Potentially. I think that if you can make a shirt with the weird doll on it.
Yeah, or you could just slap a picture of the homeless kids with mange on there. What's going on with those kids, man? Are they supposed to be like zombies? Because like they have half a head of hair and they look weird.
You live your life in a tunnel. This is what's bound to happen.
I have no idea what's going on with the Anghkooie kids, but we're going to talk about them in this here episode. You down with that?
Yes.
Good, because this is Pop Culture Pastor Watch-Alongs. We are doing an episode for a pod for every episode of From Season 3. We are here to review and recap Episode 6.
Sace.
My name's Dave. Cody's here.
I am.
And I guess there's nothing left to do but welcome everyone here. Off the bat, I'm going to say, hey, if you're liking the show and we've picked you up as a new viewer, you haven't tried the main pods yet, if you would please subscribe to us, that would be great. Both to the pod, wherever you're listening to it, and to our social media. That'd be great. And then, what's the word I'm looking for next? Give us a review, I guess.
Subscribe, like, review, share with your friends, your family, your close loved ones.
Yeah, post a review to the main page on Facebook or whatever, our page, and tell us that you hadn't heard of us, but you love the From watch-alongs.
It's all about the From.
Yeah. Anyways, we gotta get this started. Episode 6, Cody. It's time for What the From.
What the From?
What the From?
It's so like, why are we going in the tunnel?
What? Why are we going down there? I don't know why we're going down there. Seemed kind of dicey.
It seemed very dicey, and for Jasper, of all things, we're going into the tunnel for Jasper.
We're going in for the creepy puppet.
Yep.
No, we shouldn't do that, Cody.
And I'm like, why are we risking your father's life for this?
We are going to talk about that and more. You didn't know this, but I do kind of want to dig into Victor a little bit.
Well, someone needs to.
But first, we start off in the Matthews household for a little how it started versus how it's going. And we're back to where we started because things seem nice for about 30 seconds. Then tensions rise along with the voices when Jim, trying to comfort Tabitha, says the wrong thing. No husbands can relate to that anywhere, I'm sure.
This was the first time I've ever even heard of it, let alone witnessed it.
We love you, wives. But when I was watching that, I was like, this is where the real horror begins.
It was at that moment, I'm like, I hope that these creatures of the night just take out this whole family.
It was like we were watching that movie with Scarlett Johansson and Kylo Ren. Adam Driver. Yeah, it was like, we're just in full-on marital strife mode.
Yep.
And the kids were hearing this all go down, along with pretty sure the monsters heard, because hilariously, when they pause yelling, one of the monsters yells, like screams. I laughed out loud at that part. It was because it was kind of like that monster was like, shut up.
Which, I mean, I would be like those monsters.
I mean, I don't want to really be like them. But I did laugh out loud when that part happens. Also, this is a reminder that when the Matthews arrived, they were on the fast track to divorce.
Yes. And when you don't talk about your problems and you don't talk about them in a healthy manner, when you do talk about them, that's bound to happen.
Yeah, this fits in too with what we've been talking about. We've kind of been mentioning, at least I've been mentioning all season long, the writers have stepped up their game. this season, especially in the realm of character moments. And this scene, I thought this scene was realistic, and it's kind of a realistic and heartbreaking look at how easily we're set off when our anxieties are already high. And it just showed us the challenges of being in a relationship in Fromville, quite honestly.
The relationships outside of Fromville were already kind of rocky to begin with. And now that we are in Fromville, it did not help.
Yeah, but there was anxieties that started it there too, because presumably they were a pretty happy couple until they lost their child.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed to, admittedly, according to the writing of the show so far, been their problem. And in season 3, they've done, like, think about Boyd popping off on people. They've gone extra above and beyond to show us characters losing their cool with each other. And I think it's all part of this ramping up that the writers are trying to do, where they're trying to show us people are starting to fray around the edges.
Well, considering instead of like what the From, people be dropping the F-bomb like 20 times within the first 5 minutes.
I mean, I think if we cussed 50% less, maybe those monsters wouldn't come around as much. That's just science. That's just science.
Potentially, especially if we're thinking that there's something evil and nefarious about them.
Yeah. I was thinking about the relationship stuff they've showed us this season, and I had a question. Cody, can you think of anyone's relationship that's improved over the time they've been in Fromville? Has anyone's relationship improved? Because it seems like all the relationships get worse.
For brief moments, I think there's glimmers of hope, but then it comes crashing down, because I can't think of anyone that prolonged their relationship got better. But
yeah,
I mean, right now, even the friendships are rocky at best.
I mean, the best relationships on a first glance appeared to be Kenny and his parents, and both his parents are gone now. And you wonder if that just seems there's this ongoing thing that kind of digs at me. And I think it's a clue that maybe the evil force in this place knows that relationships is the area they want to attack.
I think Jade and Dead Tom have a good friendship.
They do. And we'll get to that too. Yeah, that was delightful. I'm here for Jade and Tom the bartender, the ghost of Tom the bartender. After the fight, Julie says something snarky and leaves.
Of course. That's where I am with her.
Oh, man, I really want to like Julie, but so there's so many characters on this show. The writers are doing a good job, I think, but there's so many characters. I think some characters are just going to get short shrifted on the development. And I think Julie is one of those characters.
I'm just thinking that there's going to be a massive amount of casualties before this season's done.
Yeah, that could be. What about Ethan, though? Because after they get done fighting, he says he misses the days when they first got to literal hell, when they were too scared to fight. He said he misses those days. That was heartbreaking.
That's not a good sign.
No. But when that kid said that, by the way, that was delivered great by that actor, that little boy, that young actor. These writers are killing it this season, I think. But that's how the episode starts. The next big grouping we kind of want to follow are Boyd, Ellis, Fatima, the hospital crew, and Randall? Question mark? I guess now is going to be part of that hospital crew.
It's a weird crew.
Yeah, Boyd, perhaps still just being controlled by his guilt, goes to visit Randall, who thankfully is sleeping, albeit fitfully. Christy reassures him that Randall's going to be okay. I mean, like as okay as one can be after getting their face nearly ripped in half.
He might look like Heath Ledger's Joker after this is done.
I thought that too. I thought that was kind of similar. And you remember the monster they killed was the smiley one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, but that's too close to be a coincidence, right? To just cut that guy into a smile.
Parallels.
Yeah. She also informs Boyd they now have access to an ultrasound that was in the ambulance. And further...
Very convenient.
Yeah, right? Right. It seems like that's the whole reason that ambulance came there. Encourages him to tell Fatima to head over so she can get a glimpse of her unborn baby. Boyd, perhaps, maybe excited about offering something positive to the awkwardness of his relationship with his son, marches right over to Colony House with the good news, only to run into a very tense moment between Fatima and Ellis because they're struggling.
They are.
Which, understandably.
And I would say that they would probably be struggling anyway, being first-time parents, being a young couple. But then you add on top eating all the dead things of the world.
I mean, this qualifies for an eating disorder, I think.
And them being in a place where they're not actually in a place.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't help.
The two decide to tell Boyd about Fatima's necro-veganism, which is what I'm calling it now. Only dead vegetables, preferably moldy radishes for our girl, Fatima.
Well, I don't know if she's necessarily just strictly a vegan.
Yeah, then there's that part. He tells them they have an ultrasound now. Fatima, of course, is reluctant, which I think I understood that most of all, because I think, well, Cody, I'll just ask you, this is more than just baby worries, right? She has to have an inkling that something is very wrong.
Demon baby.
I mean, or, okay, we'll get to that. I don't want to jump the gun.
Don't jump it.
I don't want to jump the gun, but they're finally convinced to go get the ultrasound. Christy and Marielle begin the process, quickly identify the womb, but then we see the confusion enter their affects. The womb is clearly empty, and a cold breeze gives us chills. Chills travel down everyone's spine as they and the viewers realize Fatima is not pregnant. So, Cody, let's take inventory here. 1, she isn't eating any normal food. 2, her body has apparently stopped some normal processes biologically that make her think she was pregnant. If you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
She begins eating moldy radishes and human blood. She's a monster, isn't she? And she's already dead. Is that what's happening? She's already dead, isn't she? She's goner. She's turning into one of those.
I don't know if they're actually dead.
Oh, the monsters?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be... Well, when they killed the one, he didn't have a heart.
Well, maybe they are just rotting from the inside out.
Yeah. I feel like, and you can disagree with me if you like, but I feel like this story is heading to one of those zombie show type tropes where Ellis is going to have to make a decision to save someone else's life or, save their life by taking out Fatima. I feel like that's where this is going.
He won't do it.
Yeah. And then someone will die.
Or he will.
I tend to think you're right. We haven't had a real high body count this season. We've lost a couple.
It needs to happen. There's too many people to keep track of.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the finale of this season is just going to be a bloodbath. Victor and Henry go on an adventure.
As every father and son should.
Not like this one. This is like straight out of the estranged father-son handbook.
Yes.
Victor is on a mission, of course, to find the puppet Jasper and is preparing to leave town to set out into the caves to find it. And since we just got that sweet reunion last week, Cody, it's like Al Green said, let's stay together. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want that. And I don't blame him. But
I thought it was really sweet that Henry insisted he was going.
It was sweet that Henry insisted. Victor should have said, you know what? This mission is foolishness. I'm not going to put you at harm's risk.
I tend to agree with you, but there's something off about Victor. But let's get there. We'll talk about that in a second.
He's been off since episode 1 of season 1. We can't just say there's something off.
There's
now.
more to it, though, and I think we get a clue as we move on here. He's got, of course, his little army men that are going to help them keep track of finding their way out of the winding tunnels. They venture into that dark place together. Man, the show really ratchets up the tension as they're going deeper and deeper into the tunnels. They even get to the place where Victor saw Jasper the last time, along with the table and the other stuff, and it's not there. Nothing's there. Cody, are the monsters moving stuff around? And if they are, why?
Or have other people been down there?
Okay, what do you mean by that? That sounds like a Fromspiracy.
It is a slight one. I mean, so we have the original crew that Victor was with that all died. Yeah. But, like, what if some other people wandered into Fromville but didn't go to the area that Victor just stayed in, went to the, like, rustic area and was like, oh, we're going to go scourge around the tunnels.
I know you haven't watched Lost, but you just inadvertently went lost.
Yeah!
Because as they make it through season 1, they realize there's another group of people on the island that they thought they were deserted on by themselves. And they call them the others.
I feel there's others.
What if there are others in Fromville who are just in a different area?
If there's not others, there was others. And I think that others may have been messing with things.
Yeah. They go deeper into the tunnels. They find another clearing. They find the dining room table with Jasper sitting on one of the chairs. A figure lying in the corner on the other side. One of the monsters. Victor quickly grabs the puppet and shoves it into his backpack. Henry starts getting loud because he finds a scarf that belonged to his wife.
Henry, you jabroni.
Victor's mother. The commotion awakens the monster in the corner, who bears a slight resemblance to maybe Christopher. Do we think that's Christopher? Hanging out there with Jasper?
Maybe.
It's weird that we've seen that particular monster both times that he's seen Jasper, and he looks like he's just sleeping in the corner.
I got some Fromspiracies brewing in my brain, but they're not flushed out enough.
They're not fully baked.
Yeah.
Let's not rush the bread out of the oven just yet, unless you're Fatima, in which of course there is no bun. That was a pregnancy joke. Maybe that too soon.
That it is.
Okay. Here's one of the creepiest parts of the episode. A female demon / monster comes across them and says to Victor, like she knows him, if you keep coming down here, one day we're going to make you stay. Now, this brings up a Fromspiracy!
Yeah.
From Dave. I've got a Fromspiracy. Victor's knowing more than he lets on. And Victor may be more of a part of this than we think or realize. I've seen a lot of crazy theories out there that Victor, this is all a product of his imagination.
I told you that I thought that this could be an Alzheimer's ward and you're inside Victor's brain.
Yeah, this is too weird. I find it really strange that, okay, so let's go over what her saying this to him implies a few things. One, he's come down there a lot.
At least a handful of times.
2, when he comes down there, those monsters don't kill him, which seems odd.
It's very interesting.
3, she speaks to him very kindly in a sort of condescending way, mocking kind of way. But like just the threat of like, if you keep coming down here, we're going to make you stay, makes me feel like they can't hurt him. Which I think is a clue. I think there was a clue there. Lots of clues, actually.
So my partially baked idea is that parallel universes, and these people are the tunnel people are actually alternate versions of people that have entered Fromville from up top.
Okay.
And they are just living in the tunnels.
Who's Jasper then?
Jasper is just a creepy doll. Ventriloquists they're just weird.
We don't take kindly to ventriloquists around here.
We don't.
They flee the tunnels and find refuge in Victor's, U-Haul? Is that what that is? Like a moving truck?
Yep.
Henry's horrified to learn that as a child, Victor would hide out in this truck alone and is once again bummed out that he wasn't able to protect his little boy. And as he begins to regain his composure, he asks the question we're all wondering. Victor, how did your mother's scarf end up in the tunnel? To Victor's reply, it's just how this place works. Is that a satisfactory answer? That makes me suspicious too.
Victor, I think you're leaving some things out.
I do too. I feel like he knows more than he's letting on.
Now, I will say, if this is a trauma memory, it is processed way differently than your regular memories are, because usually when a traumatic event occurs, your prefrontal cortex, which is your logical thinking brain that creates a narrative, it goes offline, and you are left with your lizard brain, which is your fight or flight stuff, and then the limbic system is still online, and it doesn't remember things in the narrative, and it doesn't understand words either. So it's a lot of survival stuff is just online, and so he might really have it blocked out. And he might not even be able to recall it if it was too traumatic, especially with him being a kid, presumably.
All joking and fromspiracies aside, this is pretty realistic if he's just racked by trauma, which is certainly possible, being alone in a place like that for that many years.
But when we find out that he was actually the killer all along.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know if I can handle that. This episode was kind of weird in that usually there's about 2 to 3 main groups of characters we're hanging with. Those were kind of the main groups, and then we get a bunch of a bunch of the characters. So I'm going to call all these bonus storylines. We get Donna, who's trying to honor Dale because no one else was going to do it.
At the same time, I'm like, well, now we can't use this pool.
Nobody was using that pool anyways. They were all quite fine to have a decomposing Dale statue in the pool, which sounds like a garbage pail kid.
Yep.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you were not a millennial or older.
Yes. Tabitha hugging Donna at the loss of a friend was nice, but kind of odd.
It was, but again, I think there's something that some of the characters are are grasping. And I do think it's about this. I think the evil place, the monsters, whoever's pulling the strings here. And that's, I made that pun on purpose with the Jasper stuff. I think whoever's pulling the strings here is clearly attacking their ability to have relationships, because he knows that's where we get comfort, where humanity gets comfort. Is through relationship. Because listen, there's a lot of people who think our real world is hellish. Mm-hmm. And the way we make it through is we lean on each other. Relationships are a big part of human comfort. And so this place seems to attack it. And I think maybe Tabitha is starting to understand that. Although she didn't show it in the first scene where she jumped all over Jim for saying something that was maybe he could have worded it better, but clearly wasn't trying to attack her.
The intent wasn't there for what he had said. I do think Donna is the character that is seemingly...
She's going through something.
Trending in a more compassionate narrative, and that leads me to think she's going to die in the season finale.
Oh, you're so cynical, Cody.
We can't keep people that started off as not likable characters that are now likable.
Kenny shows up to admire Donna's handiwork and asks to move into Colony House. But not until after he gets her to assure him that he wants no part of those Colony House freak-offs. Yeah, he's like, I ain't down with that. Which, that's a smart move, Kenny. Stay far away.
Kenny.
Kenny was like, yeah, just none of that weird stuff around me.
And then, of course, Tabitha's daughter smoking the drugs, and Kenny's like, you're good.
Drugs are bad, okay?
But don't do it too much.
Randall finally wakes up from his unconsciousness and is tended to by Marielle. They have an interesting conversation that I think was hard to... I think a lot of people, judging by what I saw online, didn't really understand that conversation. It was a little hard to pick up, but I think some people thought they had like some sort of hidden relationship, but it wasn't that. It was just he was referring to that they were one of the two of the three people that went through the music box episode.
Yeah.
Which I think is what he was referring to for whatever reason.
And they both are, I still feel they're both outsiders to the groups.
For whatever reason, he seems more open with her than he is with most people. When his bandages are removed, he asks to see his face. Marielle gives him the mirror, gives him a privacy as he kind of looks in horror at this graphic scar that covers most of his cheek and jaw, which you got to think they did that because it's like a reminder. It's like a constant reminder of what happened to him and how someone made a choice and chose against him, basically.
And good luck eating salty food for a while.
Oh, whew, that's the real horror right there. No,
Yes.
sir. Although they don't have salt there. That's the kind of place where if it is hell, then it's food. It's only unseasoned food. Everything is tasteless.
I like to think the diner still has some salt.
It's like 2020 out there. Everyone's got COVID and they can't smell anything good and they can't taste anything.
And there's no toilet paper.
Wait a minute. Do they poop in Fromville? Has anyone talked about that? Someone was waiting for the bathroom.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're still pooping. Everybody poops, Cody.
That they do.
Randall is unable to face the thought of moving back onto the bus. He's kind of open. He says it's terrible. It's frightening, right? Marielle promptly invites him to stay with them, much to his gratitude. So he goes back. While packing up, Julie runs into him and they start reminiscing about the shared torture of the music box stuff back in season 2. And Julie, of course, shares some of her stash with Randall.
Where is she getting all this?
I know. Were they going to run out? Is that going to be part of the horror too? It's like they just gave her this little reprieve and then she's going to run out. I'm not an expert, but that didn't look like a whole lot.
No, and she's been using it the past few episodes.
Back at the Colony House, Elgin is messing around with his new Polaroid and he's decided he's going to make a picture collage.
I was so proud of him.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to make community here.
And he has the reaction after he gets a few negative reactions. He has the reaction I would have too. Like, what's wrong with you people? Just trying to do something nice.
Yep.
Like, we're in this terrible, awful, horrific situation. You'd think you would be a little more gracious.
Team Elgin.
Yeah, Team Elgin. He's kind of sorting through the images he's taken so far, and he lingers on one of Fatima, and behind her, a familiar person slowly fades into view, and the picture was just like Back to the Future. And it's the kimono wearing woman, and then she's there with him in the room while being in the picture simultaneously, and she ominously tells him that she can help them escape the town if he helps her, before abruptly disappearing when they're interrupted. Now, Cody, do we trust Kimono Ghost Lady, or is this the same thing that happened to Sarah when the voices, quote unquote, got her to do bad things?
I trust Elgin's judgment. That's how I'll put it.
So we think we're in a better situation than Sarah.
Potentially. Unless Elgin feels this lady's bad and then is kind of peer pressured into trusting the lady. But if he thinks the lady is worth following, I'm trusting Elgin.
I do feel like we've got a different kind of situation here with Elgin, as far as they just did this. They kind of painstakingly set up this scenario where they literally showing the goodness of Elgin, how he just wanted to bring people just a little bit of light, a little bit of happiness. And yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. After Tabitha has an unsettling and disheartening conversation with Ethan, she hears strange noises from upstairs. She goes to investigate and finds the Anghkooie kids. Not the Anghkooie kids.
They're everywhere.
Chanting Anghkooie like they always do. Fortunately, Ethan intervenes before it gets too overwhelming. I find it interesting that Ethan can see the boy in white, but not the Anghkooie kids. While Tabitha can see both. What's going on here, Cody?
Maybe Ethan is a pure vessel.
Yeah, maybe. They this prompts them to get out of the house for a bit. They go find Jade. Now, Jade's holding it down at the bar, and he's got quite the operation going on. He's gone full Fromspiracy mode himself, Cody. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
He's learning about bottle trees as he, continues to learn from Boyd. Boyd just happens to know there's actually two. And Jade's, a little perturbed. Like,
yep.
What? I think this is actually, I think Jade is going to become like the information czar of Fromville.
I hope so, because no one was sharing before, and now we're at least mildly sharing.
Well, I think he's realizing that, and I think that's going to be his space. And I think he's going to kind of demand this info from people. And that's that whole scene where Boyd lets him in on the existence of the second bottle tree was sort of hilarious. So he sets off to find the second one, and while he's collecting bottles, his favorite hallucination comes to visit Bartender Tom.
Dead Tom, as he calls him.
Well, he's not wrong. After he tells Tom he's frustrated, in which another great scene, by the way, Tom says, this is a quote, "You should work on that, because the Jade that built a multi-million-dollar company when everyone said he shouldn't, that guy had thicker skin. You really want to beat this place? Maybe you should sober up and give that guy a call." Cody, how come faux Father Kotri isn't coming with this level of self-help? Jade's got himself a real one.
And why is it that these two individuals are seeing or hallucinating dead members of the group?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that they both come with some sort of they're reprimanding them, but Boyd and Father Kotri, the ghost of Kotri, is very much more brutal and harsh, whereas Bartender Tom, his ghost really helps Jade, and I think it makes an impact because when Tabitha and Ethan reach Jade, he appears to be sober.
So I do think that there's two things going on with that. One is, I think for Boyd, he needs someone more harsh to slap him with the reality of the situation. And with Jade, he might need a more gentle touch. But I also think when you think about pastors or clergy, they tend to be serious, strict, professional. And a bartender seems to be super friendly.
Yeah. It's interesting that we've seen Boyd kind of falling from grace a little bit, getting questioned as leader. And I think what we're witnessing with Jade is he's quickly going to become a leader, especially if he stops drinking, especially if he takes Bartender Tom's advice, and which it appears he does, because he's acting in a totally different way by the time Tabitha and Ethan come to visit him.
I am concerned about Jade, though.
Why are you concerned about Jade? So,
because if he's an alcoholic, you can't just quit cold turkey. That's not safe.
Maybe, yeah, but I don't know that he was an alcoholic before he got there, at least to this level.
Well, I'm just saying, for however long they've been in Fromville,
yeah,
if he's been chugging away, it's not healthy to just stop cold turkey.
Yeah, it's not. But there's something going on with Jade that I think, and I wish I would have studied this, but there's a guy who wrote some books who was in a concentration camp in Nazi Germany. He was a Jew. And the whole point of the books is that if you have purpose to live for.
Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, that's it. You've read this.
Yes.
Yeah. I knew someone told me about it, and I've read a little bit about it, but I haven't read the book. But I think he is.
Man's Search for Meaning is the book.
Yeah, you're seeing it in real time with the character of Jade. Now he's got purpose. He's like getting himself together.
And I do think that Boyd has some purpose, but it's being challenged, which could end up building some serious character and determination on his part, and maybe him and Jade start collaborating more.
Yeah, so Jade, Tabitha and Ethan show up. Jade has laid out all these numbers. He's got stuff written everywhere. He's got a bunch of vague theories about what happened to Tabitha that are based on physics, but he's kind of focused on figuring out the code of these 4-digit numbers that are in these bottles from the bottle trees, from both trees. He finds that both trees contain some of the identical numbers, but maybe they're jumbled from place to place, and there's a difference in handwriting as well on some of them. Jade leaves Ethan to fiddle, like he gives Ethan something to do. And again, it was interesting to watch Jade put a plan into motion with Ethan that was suggested to Boyd by the cop. Remember what she said to him? Give people purpose. And the first thing he does to calm little Ethan is gives him a job, makes him feel important. Says, hey, why don't you take a look at this? And that's one, I think they're trying to show that Jade is sober. He's thinking.
Yes.
And I thought it was great. I thought that whole scene was awesome. Then the episode stops on a dime because Jade did some sketches of the creepy mannequin things. And Tabitha recognizes them. And she asks, were there 3 big red stones in that place? Jade says yes. And we start getting flashbacks of little Tabitha, and that she reveals she used to have a recurring nightmare about that homestead out there. Just like Henry's wife, Tabitha was connected to Fromville before arriving there. Credits! We're left on another big dump, in a cliffhanger dump of information of like, oh, what's that about? Cody, what's that about?
I like to think that history's just constantly repeating itself. And that, what if Tabitha is really Victor's mom? And what if Ethan is going to grow up to become the next Victor?
I don't think you're not seriously saying that. You think it just plays out and over with different people.
Yes.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with that. There's a ton of people online that think Tabitha is Victor's sister. I'm just like, no, she's clearly not.
She developed a unique accent if they are siblings.
Yeah, I think this clinches it. She is definitely connected. Clearly the same things happening to her that happened to Henry's wife, Victor's mom. Whew. It seems like we're at a breaking point of, okay, we've got all the cliffhangers. I think we can stuff now. Now we're going to have to start finding out some things.
Probably won't till the season finale.
Don't you break my stride. Ain't no one going to slow me down. Oh no, we got to keep on moving.
Yes.
I think DeBarge said that. What's good, Cody? What was good about this episode?
I think it's Jade. Jade is what's good.
Yeah, we match. I have the exact same thing in my notes. The character of Jade is played so well by David Alpay. I'm pretty sure he's my favorite character currently.
I just need us to focus a little bit more on Elgin.
Yeah, I think I kind of like Elgin too. I need a little bit more though. I need a little bit more of him. The change in Jade after bartender Tom tells him to sober up, the way he gives Ethan something to do, which I mentioned incidentally is exactly what the cop was suggesting to Boyd.
We don't like Acosta. I don't know why, besides she shoots wildly.
I'm not willing to pass that judgment yet. She seems like she might be okay to me. She seems sharp.
We don't like Acosta.
Except for when she panics. She might not be someone you give a gun because maybe in the moment when it's all going down, she panics a little bit. But let's not. We'll give her another chance before we make that decision, even though she already murdered someone accidentally. What's not so good about this episode, Cody?
Honestly, it might be. I'm still perplexed by Fatima. Like, just what they're doing. Because, like, they're trying to build up a lot of emotion, but they don't also give you a lot of time fleshing it out or a lot of... Yeah, there's just not enough time to breathe with it. It's, like, very rushed.
Yeah, they're to a point, too, where this has to be something.
Yes.
Like, if this all goes away, I'm a little worried. My what's not so good is I'm a little worried about the character of Randall. Same kind of thing. If his lightening up is a result of his near monster death experience, this is good. I'm here for character development. But if this turns out to be some sort of scheme on his part, I fear they may be close to making a caricature out of him, where I'm thinking nobody would be this scheming.
Randall would.
That's my fear, bro. All right, it's time for Rip. It's time for our Rest in Peace segment. Cody, we are here today to pay our tribute and remember Fatima, who is not dead yet, but let's face it, she's totally dead. The other townsfolk should figure this out before it becomes a disaster and she kills and eats somebody, because she's definitely turning into a monster. Fatima, who presumably lost her life. Well, we're not exactly sure how that happened yet, but she is now soon to be one of the monsters. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and probably without a heart.
Potentially.
Part
of the Walking Dead now.
That's who we're resting in peace this episode. Because Fatima's a goner. I don't know. Ellison's sleeping in the same room with her, is he? Oh, man.
He is.
He's got, come on, wake up and smell the moldy radishes, bro.
So what if certain people within Fromville are part of, I don't know, angels and demons that are seen and unseen within the earthly realm, and that some of the earthly inhabitants are now just stuck in the unseen realm?
I don't even know what you just said.
Exactly.
What a great way to end it. Cody, how many, what do we want to rate? What do we want to rate this time? How many damaged motel swimming pools? How many Dale swimming pool statues out of 10 are you giving this episode?
It's 7-ish.
Yeah. So last week, the last episode I thought was the weakest one of the season so far. But it's still good, and I gave it a 7. I think I'm going to 7.5, like just a smidge above that one. But I think consistently, they're giving us consistently good episodes. They're really driving home the hopelessness while giving us these kind of great character moments, ratcheting up the dread. Now I'm just kind of waiting for that banger episode that I feel is coming. And I feel like it's coming before the season finale. Like some shows do that like really banger episode that's like one before the season finale.
The penultimate?
The penultimate. That's a
Yes.
big word. It's a big word. What do you guys think? How did you like episode 6 of From season 3? Let us know in the comments below the posts for this on the social media for this pod. Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget, subscribe, rate, do all that stuff. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week.